was actually the first, I think, taste of an image of David Bowie of where the image had completely changed from, say, 2 years before. Were you conscious of that image? Were you pursuing that image at that stage?
No, I just treated it from album to album. I mean, it just changed drastically with the kind of song that I was writing.
Right.
As I was going through a sort of, I thought it was some of my best songwriting at that time. So I became the Renaissance man with a pre-Raphaelite kind of look.
Right.
But that was sort of tongue-in-cheek.
And the critics at that stage start to take a lot of notice. How much notice did you take of the critics at that stage?
I was aware that I had a good chance of making my songs known, but it was how I was going to present them, which was the age-old problem that I had. And that was, Ziggy Stardust really solved that.
Well, the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust was sort of so unexpected, and then it hit. And Ziggy Stardust was David Bowie, and David Bowie was Ziggy Stardust.
There was
How hard was you to get into it and then out of it?
That took a few years, really, because I hadn't prepared myself about what Ziggy was going to do to me. So I did carry him around with me, and it was hard to sort of find out where the definition ended between me and Ziggy.
Well, from Ziggy, we went then to Aladdin Sane, which is around about the 73 period, and again it was a stunning cover. So before you even had a chance to listen to the album, there was a new image there.
Yes.
That sort of perhaps could be related to Ziggy, but still was coming out of it.
That was really yes, it was. You could relate him because it was the cracking up of said young gentleman.
Right.
It was his sort of what happened to him in America.
Well, I mean, yeah,
which
again...
It did sort of, you know, to an exaggerated extent, feature a lot of what was happening to me.
All right, so we get to the point of where, on that album, which is a surprise, because suddenly you're being hailed through the last 2 albums and the last 3 albums as a singer-songwriter, especially a songwriter.
Yeah.
And you started to sort of put other people's songs, and of all people, the Rolling Stones would spend the night together on that album. Can I ask why?
I always thought it was a good song. And the other band, it was a throwaway thing.
Well, what about the classic track, Jean Genie, which you've performed
Oh, that was,
on
that for me, that
tour.
was Motor City. I mean,
David Live happened after that.
Yeah.
A lot of artists either like their live albums or totally and utterly hate them. And with you, you've got really little control as far as the sound you put over the line, as like with recording.
Yeah.
What did you think of the album?
I thought it was pretty successful. It sounds better in retrospect than it did at the time, actually. It sounds better now.
Well, okay, now let's just get on to recording just at this stage. You're not a conventional person as far as a producer is concerned. And I gather through the Eno period especially, there were some amazing sounds that you couldn't even sort of work out how, for the life of me.
We do something that we started off with, in the low thing. Where we would work against each other. I mean, I wouldn't be working in the studio at the same time as him.
Right.
And we just keep taking over from each other, not listening to what the other person did before.
But surely
just knowing the foundations and the premise that we were working on, how many beats there were, whatever.
But not listening to the low thing. You were still in yourself. You must have been, because there were some weird sounds. I had
done an awful. It wasn't as though it's a new thing to me. It was nice to work with Brian, but I had been doing cut-ups, musical cut-ups and word cut-ups for a long time, going way back. Just started on Aladdin Sane, but it came to its full-on Diamond Dogs, where that was
explain very briefly the Burroughs system that you used on that.
It was taking 3 different points of view of any given subject. You have one subject, and you look at it from 3 different perspectives, and then you intercut the different perspectives. And you do that logistically. You just take sentences and cut the sentences up. And that sounds like very free-form and a shambles. I think the actual writing ability comes in it. It's how you're going to use the information that you get out of it. You can do some dreadful cut-ups if you don't know what you're doing.
All right, Young Americans, which I thought was a great album, and obviously you don't like it. You call it your plastic sort of soul period.
Yes, I was getting very cynical at that point.
And Fame, especially with John Lennon, which became another classic. Do you like Fame?
The record?
Yes. The song?
I don't know. Yes, I guess so. I've played it so many times live that it sort of, there's a point where you... That's why I stopped touring after a bit, because if I'm not enjoying doing the material anymore...
Have you heard John
It's unfair on everybody around me, including the audience. I've got to be enjoying it.
Station to Station was an album in between, but still had a great effect on everyone.
That was a yearning to get back to Europe, very definitely. There's an awful lot of European influence musically on it.
Right. And then, of course, in '77 was with Eno, going into a lot of electronics, and you seemed to cut down your lyrics a lot with Low.
Yeah.
And it was sort of...
I kept them very precise.
Yeah.
There was very little imagery in the lyrics. The imagery came in the music.
Right.
I focus more attention onto the complexities and the textures of the music and let that do the talking more.
With Heroes, the title track itself, as much as you obviously don't like disco, actually did become a disco track. Did that appall you?
No,
Right.
because the piece